Maya Thompson stood at the revolving glass doors of Sterling and Crow Consulting just before 9 in the morning. Her palms felt warm and slightly sweaty as she smoothed the front of her crisp white blouse. She had dreamed of this moment for months. As a business administration student in her final year of college, she had sent dozens of resumes and sat through several interviews. When the email finally arrived offering her the summer internship, her heart raced with excitement. Now that she was here, standing in the lobby of a mid-sized consulting firm in downtown Chicago, she hoped she could rise to the challenge. She stepped onto the polished marble floor and glanced around. The foyer smelled faintly of fresh coffee, and the soft hum of computers drifted up from beyond a glass wall. A receptionist greeted her with a polite nod but did not speak. Behind the desk, rows of neatly stacked brochures displayed the firm's latest success stories projects with banks, retailers, and technology companies. Maya remembered reading about those in her classes, and now she could hardly believe she would play a small role in such work. Maya's first task was to find Jason Carlisle's office. She followed a hallway lined with framed certificates and images of city skylines, all in muted tones. Staff walked past her in quiet purpose, carrying clipboards or tapping on phones. Most glanced her way with a quick, neutral smile, perhaps wondering whether she could keep up. Maya felt a flicker of nerves. She kept her shoulders straight and made sure her voice stayed calm when she introduced herself at Jason's door. "Good morning. I'm Maya Thompson, the new intern," she said. Jason looked up from his computer and offered her a seat. He was in his late 30s, with neatly combed hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He handed her a stack of papers. "Welcome aboard, Maya. Here are a few market research summaries. I need you to update the figures and add some recent trends. Review them this afternoon." Maya nodded, smiled, and took the papers. As she walked back to her assigned desk near the center of the open office, her heart fluttered with excitement. The desk was simple: a black monitor, keyboard, and a small notepad waiting for her notes. She arranged her pens and opened her laptop. The screen glowed, and she felt ready. She spent the next hour reviewing reports on consumer behavior in the technology sector. The older men at nearby desks tapped away on their keyboards or spoke low voices into headsets. A few glanced over at Maya, perhaps curious about her progress. She felt a gentle pressure, but smiled to herself. This was what she wanted. She typed carefully, making sure each number matched the latest published data. When she finished, she double-checked her work and printed a clean copy to present to Jason. Lunch arrived more quickly than she expected. Her classmates often chatted about campus gossip, but here lunch was a quiet affair. Maya carried her sandwich to a small break room where two employees whispered over a project timeline. She waited politely and then joined them, quietly listening as they debated how to pitch an idea to a retail client. She offered a brief suggestion about emphasizing social media trends, and they looked at her with mild surprise. One nodded, saying, "That's a good point. We'll consider adding that slide." She felt a small spark of pride. Back at her desk, Maya greeted the afternoon with renewed energy. Jason reviewed her updated figures and smiled. "Excellent work, Maya. You caught that trend change perfectly." Gave her a few more tasks, assembling a short presentation deck and summarizing key takeaways. Maya dove in, determined to show that the firm had made the right choice in hiring her. As the day progressed, Maya noticed a rhythm in the office. Some workers huddled in small groups, whispering about deadlines. Others sat alone, eyes fixed on screens. Occasionally, a phone rang, breaking the silence. When the call ended, someone might call for a quick meeting or dash off to another room. It all felt coordinated, yet tense, as if everyone had a role in a play and no one wanted to make a mistake. Maya paid close attention to this dynamic. She wanted to learn how professionals communicated, how they managed stress, and how they stayed focused under tight schedules. She asked questions when appropriate: how to format charts for clarity, which fonts looked most professional, and how to phrase a summary for busy executives. Jason and another colleague, Nina Patel, were patient and helpful. They pointed her to templates and explained best practices. Each answer felt like a small gift of knowledge. By late afternoon, Maya's to-do list was almost complete. She felt a satisfying sense of accomplishment. The final task was to compile all her work into a neat folder for tomorrow's review meeting. She printed the latest slides, stapled her report, and arranged everything in order. Then she carefully logged off her laptop and packed her bag. As she put on her light jacket, she realized how quickly the day had passed. The clock on her desk read 5:45 p.m. Jason had left for the day, and only a few lights glowed in the office. Other interns had long since gone. Maya paused for a moment, considering her walk back to her small apartment nearby. She thought about the upcoming client meeting she would hear about the next day. She felt proud of the work she had done and eager to learn more. One last glance around the emptying office made her smile. She remembered her first nervous steps through the door that morning and contrasted them with her confident strides now. She had listened, learned, and delivered. She gathered her things and walked out, ready for the next day at Sterling and Crow Consulting. The soft click of the doors behind her felt like the closing of one chapter and the start of another. Jason Carlisle walked briskly to his desk the next morning, a worried look on his face. Nina Patel, his trusted assistant, had called in sick. She had the flu, Jason said, his voice tight with concern. He glanced at the clock, only 9 in the morning, and already his biggest helper was out of commission. He turned to Maya Thompson, who sat nearby, reviewing feedback from yesterday's presentation. "Hey Maya," he began. "We have an urgent client meeting tomorrow morning. 8. Those slides finalized? Nina usually handles the design polish and formatting, but she's homesick. Can you help me stay late tonight to finish them?" Maya looked up, surprised and a little nervous. She glanced at her schedule. She had an evening class at 7, but this was a chance to show her dedication. She swallowed and nodded. "Sure, Jason. I'll stay late and help." He let out a small sigh of relief. "Thank you. I know it's a big ask, but it will make a huge difference. I'll send you the raw files after lunch." Maya smiled and said, "I'm happy to help." Inside, her heart raced. She loved this kind of work, but she also knew it would mean missing part of her class. She decided it was worth it. The afternoon passed slowly. Jason emailed Maya the files just before 3. They looked rough. Charts that needed color coding, bullet points that needed alignment, and key data points still missing. Maya downloaded everything and began work immediately. She formatted the slides, adjusted fonts, and inserted images. She double-checked each chart against the research sources. She used the company's template, ensuring consistency in colors and logos. With each adjustment, she grew more confident in her skills. Around 4, her stomach rumbled. She walked to the small break room where a few coworkers were grabbing coffee. She poured a cup and took a moment to stretch. Another intern waved as she passed by. "Hey Maya, burning the midnight oil again," he joked. She laughed softly. "Just today," she replied. He smiled and went back to his desk. Maya carried her coffee back and sipped it slowly as she returned to her work. By 5, the office emptied. Jason and a few other senior staff left. For the day, only a handful of employees remained, heads bent over their screens. Maya felt the quiet settle in. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she refined slide after slide. She highlighted key findings and added clear headings. She made sure each chart had a caption and each point was brief but complete. She used bullet points to keep text readable. Time passed swiftly. At 6, she noticed the sun had already set outside the large windows. The city lights glowed, and the office lights felt strangely bright. Maya paused and looked at her phone. It was 5 minutes past 7. Her class had already started. She felt a pang of guilt, but reminded herself she needed to finish this project. She sent a quick message to her professor, apologizing in advance and promising to catch up on any missed material. Then she returned to the slides. At 8 o'clock, her hands felt stiff. She stretched her arms above her head and cracked her knuckles. She took a sip of water and leaned back. She reviewed the entire deck from start to finish, slide by slide. She clicked through the animations and transitions, making sure nothing looked awkward. She fixed a typo in the title slide and added a final slide listing her sources. She felt a rush of satisfaction. The deck looked professional and complete. Maya checked the clock again. It read 8:45 p.m. She still had to send the file to Jason, but she decided to give it one last look. She rehearsed how she would explain each slide if asked. She imagined how the client presentation might go. She thought about how important it would be to make a good impression. She nodded to herself and clicked Save one last time. She packed up her laptop, grabbed her bag, and walked toward Jason's office on the top floor. The building's elevators hummed softly as she rode up. She felt a flutter of nervousness, knowing. Late-night requests like this were rare for interns. She held her breath as the elevator doors opened and stepped into the quiet hallway. Jason's office door was closed. She knocked gently. "Come in," he called. Maya entered, the overhead lights making the room feel bright. Jason looked up from his desk, blinking as he adjusted his glasses. He gestured to a chair. "You did an excellent job," he said. "Thank you. You so much for staying to finish this? The client meeting is at 9 tomorrow, so I'll review these with them." He looked at the file Maya handed him. "This is exactly what we needed. You went above and beyond." Maya sat back, relieved. "I'm glad I could help," she said softly. Jason leaned forward. "I noticed you stayed late to do this." It's impressive. Most interns don't see this kind of work, let alone handle it so well. Maya felt her cheeks flush. He managed to smile. "I wanted to make sure everything was ready for the team." Jason nodded. "Well, it shows. You'll get credit for this at tomorrow's meeting." He closed his laptop and stood. "Why don't you head home now? You deserve a break." Maya shook her head. "I should really go," she said, holding back her excitement. "Thank you again for trusting me with this." Jason opened the door for her. "Get some rest. We'll talk more tomorrow." Maya stepped into the hallway and pressed her hand against the cool wall. She felt exhaustion wash over her, but it was mixed with pride. She rode the elevator down to the lobby, where the security guard nodded at her. She waved and stepped outside into the night air. The street felt calm, a gentle breeze brushing her hair. She walked toward her apartment, her pace slower now. She thought about how different this felt from her first day. Back then, she had been full of nervous energy. Now she was tired but confident. She had proven to herself that she could handle tough tasks and tight deadlines. She believed she could do more. As she reached her building, she glanced at her phone. She had a few messages from classmates asking why she missed class. She typed a quick reply, promising to share notes and catch up tomorrow. Then she locked the door behind her and headed to her small desk in her apartment. She turned on a soft lamp and opened her textbook. She reviewed the lesson she missed, taking careful notes. Even as she yawned, she stayed focused, determined to learn everything. Before she knew it, it was past midnight. She closed her textbook and packed it away. She brushed her teeth and climbed into bed, her mind buzzing with the day's events. She thought about the CEO's office she had passed earlier, wondering if he had noticed the lights still on in her area. She smiled, imagining that maybe someone at the top had seen her hard work. Maya closed her eyes and let sleep come. She dreamed of charts and presentations, of city skylines lit up at night, and of the satisfying click of a completed task. She knew the next day would bring a new challenge, the client meeting, and the chance to hear her work praised. Knew she would return to Sterling & Crow Consulting, ready to learn and help in any way she could. The night felt quiet and full of promise. Tomorrow she would step back into the office, a little more aware of what she was capable of achieving. The next morning, the sky was still pale blue when Maya walked back into the office. She felt the quiet hum of computers around her, but everything else seemed softer than yesterday. She settled into her desk. She glanced up toward the top. The floor where the glass-walled office of Robert Sterling, the CEO, stood. She had never met him in person, and most interns rarely cross paths with someone at that level. To Maya, he was almost like a distant figure she read about in company emails or saw in photos on the website. She did not know that her actions last night had already caught his eye. Meanwhile, on the top floor, Robert Sterling was finishing a quick tour of the newly designed workspace. He had asked the facilities team to update the floor plans, and now he wanted to see how the changes looked in real life. As he reviewed each section, he noticed how each team's desks aligned, how natural light filled certain areas, and how small meeting rooms were scattered down one side of the corridor. He paused at the glass wall overlooking the open office. Below, through the tinted glass, he could see dozens of people typing, talking, or concentrating on their screens. He stood very still, lips pressed into a thin line, observing the scene like an artist studying a canvas. Then he caught sight of one desk where a single person was still working. It was well past 8 in the morning an hour, when most employees would have started coffee breaks or morning meetings. But there she was, a young woman focused on her screen, fingers moving quickly across the keyboard. Her posture was straight, yet relaxed, and the glow of the monitor reflected off her glasses. Intrigued, Sterling moved closer to the glass. Saw spreadsheets, charts, and slide designs flicker on her screen. He watched as she clicked through each slide with care. He could not tell whose project it was, but the concentration on her face told him it mattered deeply to her. Robert Sterling tapped on the glass lightly, but Maya did not notice. She was immersed in her work arranging data points and fine-tuning the layout of a complicated slide. She paused occasionally to rub her eyes or stretch her shoulders. Even when a phone rang loudly somewhere behind her, she did not flinch. Out. She answered with a calm voice, gave a quick response, and then returned to her task. Sterling found himself drawn in by her calm focus. He wondered who she was and why she was still there. He glanced at his watch. 8:30. This was far beyond normal hours for someone at her level. As Sterling watched, he realized that the desk he was observing belonged to an intern. He remembered the name badge on her desk said Maya Thompson, summer intern. He smiled to himself. It was unusual, but not unheard of, for an intern to stay late. Yet this was early morning, not late night. He found it impressive that she was already in the office before most people, and was still there when the day should have been in full swing. He leaned back, folding his arms, and pondered what had brought her here at this hour. I thought of how interns usually fetched coffee, organized files, and observed meetings, but here was someone who seemed to own her tasks, someone who seemed to make a plan and follow it with care. Sterling straightened his suit jacket and tapped the glass again, this time pressing his palm flat against it. He studied the documents. On her screen was a bar chart showing sales figures, a data table with customer segments, and a slide titled Key Findings. Each slide was neat and uncluttered. She had used bullet points and simple language, and the fonts looked clean and professional. Sterling felt a rush of admiration. He had seen many presentations in his career, but this one looked as if the creator understood not just the data, but also how to share it clearly. He wondered if Jason Carlisle, the young manager down below, recognized how valuable this work really was. He decided to step out into the hallway. He walked silently down the corridor to the end where the main staircase would take him to the floor below. He did not want to startle anyone, so he avoided the elevators and chose the stairs, taking 2 steps at a time. His polished shoes clicked on each step. As he neared the lower floor, he slowed down, listening for any sounds of conversation or typing. The office was still quiet, save for that single desk light bright against the dimmed work area. Maya did not look up as Sterling reached the hallway. Instead, she zoomed in on a small section of a table, adjusted the margins on a slide, and typed a note to herself about the next steps she would take. Sterling paused just outside the office boundary. He could see the whole floor from there, a sea of desks. Few people walking to printers or making phone calls, but mostly everyone focused on their screens. Yet again, his eyes returned to Maya. He admired her concentration and her skill. New interns often had good intentions, but talent combined with such dedication was rare. For a moment, Sterling simply watched. He felt a mix of pride and curiosity. He wanted to know more about her. He wondered where she had learned these skills and how she had developed such discipline. He thought about his own early days as a young analyst staying late to prepare reports and how that work had shaped his career. He realized that Maya reminded him of himself, eager to learn, willing to put in the time, and able to make data tell a clear story. Finally, Sterling straightened his posture and crossed his arms lightly. He made a mental note to talk to Jason Carlisle later that day. He would ask about this intern named Maya Thompson and find out more about her contributions. He knew it might embarrass other employees or make them feel they were not working hard enough, but he cared more about recognizing talent. He believed that small acts of recognition could encourage someone to grow, to stay motivated, and eventually, to take on bigger challenges. As he turned toward the staircase to head back up, he allowed himself one last glance at Maya. She was still at her desk, adjusting slide transitions, unaware that the CEO had watched her work. She looked calm and confident, as if nothing could distract her from the task at hand. Sterling felt assured that the future of the company was in good hands with people like her. He climbed the stairs 2 steps at a time, his mind full of plans to bring this bright intern closer into the company, perhaps even offer her a special project or mentorship. When Sterling reached his office, he closed the glass door softly behind him. He sat at his desk and opened his notebook. He wrote down, "Maya Thompson, intern, extraordinary dedication, review work, consider special assignment." He paused, reread his note, and underlined her name twice. He leaned back in his chair and allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. He believed that real talent often went unnoticed, but not this time. He would make sure Maya's efforts did not go unseen.
Ow!
The company would benefit from her skills, and she would learn even more under attentive guidance. Far below, Maya finally stood up and stretched, unaware that her work had already made an impression at the highest level. She took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. She felt confident and proud, even if she did not know exactly why. In the days to come, she would learn that sometimes the greatest rewards arrive when least expected, and that genuine effort truly does catch the eye of those who matter most. Maya arrived early the next morning, her heart pounding with both excitement and nerves. The office felt different in daylight, full of chatter and the soft hum of keyboards. She carried her laptop and the printed folder of slides into the conference room where Jason and several senior team members had gathered. The large table gleamed under bright lights, and a projector sat at one end, ready to display her work. As she set up her laptop, she noticed the client representative's 3 women, and 2 men sitting along one side. They looked serious but curious, their notepads open and pens poised. Jason stood to welcome everyone. "Thank you all for coming early," he said, his voice steady. Maya, our summer intern, prepared an updated deck that highlights key trends. For your strategy session, he clicked the remote, and the first slide appeared, a clear title page with the client's logo and the date. Maya took a deep breath and began. Her voice was calm but confident as she guided them through each slide. She spoke plainly, using simple words to explain complex data. She pointed to colorful charts showing customer growth, described how social media engagement had shifted, and highlighted market segments that deserved more attention. As she spoke, Maya glanced occasionally at the client team. One of the women leaned forward, nodding in agreement. A man tapped his pen on the table thoughtfully. Jason sat beside her, offering supportive smiles. Maya felt the warmth of their engagement and grew more assured. When she reached the slide detailing recommendations suggesting a targeted campaign and improved user interface, they whispered quietly among themselves, writing notes. Maya kept her tone steady, even when she felt her pulse quicken with anticipation. By the time she reached the final slide, her confidence had settled. She concluded, "These steps will help your company connect more deeply with younger customers and sustain growth over the next year." She clicked one last time, and a thank you slide with contact information appeared. The room stayed silent for a moment before the lead client, Ms. Hayes, spoke. "This is impressive work," she said. "The insights are clear, and the recommendations are well thought out." She smiled at Maya. "Thank you for presenting this so clearly." Jason chimed in next. Maya went above and beyond to polish this deck. Her attention to detail made all the difference. He looked around the table. "I believe this will give you the data you need to make strategic decisions." The clients exchanged pleased looks. One of them asked, "Maya, can you send us the source files and the data tables?" She nodded. "Absolutely. I'll email them right after this meeting." The clients thanked her again and gathered their things, chatting quietly as they headed out. Maya packed her laptop and returned to her desk, feeling a glow of pride. Later that morning, Jason called Maya into his office, closed the door behind them. "That was outstanding," he said. "I've heard nothing but good feedback." He pointed to her folder on his desk. "I forwarded your slides to the CEO. He wants to meet you this afternoon." Maya's breath caught. A meeting with Robert Sterling? The thought made her pulse race. She nodded, trying to sound composed. "Thank you, Jason. I'm honored." Jason smiled. "Take some time to review our company overview documents. May I ask about your background and your goals? And remember to be yourself." Maya left his office with a quick nod and returned to her desk. She opened the company handbook and flipped through pages about the firm's history, values, and recent achievements. She made notes about projects she found inspiring. She thought about what she wanted to say if the CEO asked why she chose this internship. She practiced in her mind, smoothing each answer until it felt natural. When the clock read to 30, Maya made her way to the elevator. Her palms felt warm, but she stood tall. As the doors opened on the top floor, she stepped into the quiet hallway. The glass walls revealed well-arranged desks and a view of the city skyline beyond. She knocked gently on the CEO's door. "Come in," a voice called. She entered to find Robert Sterling standing by a window, looking out. He turned and offered a friendly smile. "Hello, Maya," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Robert Sterling." His grip was firm and confident. "Congratulations on the presentation this morning. I reviewed your slides, and I was very impressed." Maya shook his hand and thanked him. She noticed how tall he stood and how his suit fit perfectly. Despite his stature, his smile felt warm, not intimidating. He gestured toward 2 chairs near his desk. She sat, and he took the other. "Tell me about yourself," he began. Maya settled her nerves and spoke honestly. She described her university studies, her interest in data analysis, and her excitement about learning how consulting could shape business decisions. She explained why she stayed late the night before, how she saw the project as a chance to develop skills and support her team. She emphasized that she wanted to make meaningful contributions, not just fulfill basic tasks. Sterling listened, carefully, nodding thoughtfully. He asked a few questions. How did she learn to use the company's presentation software so quickly? What aspects of the project did she find most challenging? Maya answered clearly, sharing how she used online tutorials and advice from colleagues, and how she balanced precision with clarity when refining the slides. He smiled at her answers, saying, "Your curiosity and resourcefulness are exactly what we need here." They spoke for nearly 30 minutes. He told her about his own start as an intern many years ago, staying late to help on projects that few others wanted to touch. He said those experiences taught him to value hard work and to recognize when someone had genuine talent. Described how the firm was launching a new initiative to identify high-potential interns and give them special mentorship. "I think you belong in that group," he said. Maya's eyes widened. She felt a rush of gratitude. He leaned forward. "I'd like you to join our Summer Fellows program. You'll work on cross-departmental projects, meet with senior leaders, and receive coaching and leadership skills." Maya's heart swelled. She had never imagined such an opportunity. She nodded eagerly, her voice catching with emotion as she said, "Thank you. I would love to participate." Sterling smiled broadly and wrote a quick memo in his notebook. "I'll ask HR to handle the details. For now, keep up your excellent work, and feel free to reach out to me directly if you have ideas." Maya left his office on a cloud. The hallway felt brighter, the view through the windows more vivid. She rode the elevator down, clutching her bag to her chest. Back at her desk, she shared the news with Jason, whose face lit up with pride. Other colleagues congratulated her as word spread. Maya felt both grateful and motivated. She opened her laptop and drafted an email to her professor, sharing the unexpected turn her internship had taken. As the day wound down, Maya took a moment at her desk to reflect. She thought of the late nights, the careful edits, and the focused mornings. She realized that recognition often comes when you least expect it, earned through consistent effort and genuine passion. She closed her eyes briefly, savoring the moment, and then returned to her work with renewed energy. She drafted a plan. For the next week of her internship, listing goals to learn new skills and contribute to upcoming projects. When Maya left the office that evening, the sky was painted in shades of pink and gold. She walked back to her apartment with a light step, her mind buzzing with possibilities. She thought about how far she had come from her first nervous day reviewing market reports to meeting the CEO and being invited into a special program. The air felt fresh, carrying a promise of growth and new experiences. As she climbed the steps to her building, she smiled, knowing that her dedication had opened doors she never dreamed possible and that her journey was only just beginning. Maya woke early the next morning, the sun still low in the sky. She stretched and smiled, remembering the night before. She had been invited into the Summer Fellows program, a special group where she would get direct mentorship from senior leaders. As she got dressed and packed her bag, she thought about how her life had changed in just 1 week. Her heart felt light with excitement. She arrived at Sterling & Crow Consulting and greeted the security guard by name. He gave her a friendly nod, saying, "Big day, Maya." She grinned and nodded back. As she stepped into the lobby, she noticed a small placard near the reception desk announcing the new Summer Fellows cohort. Under a heading for Fellows, her name was listed alongside a few others. She felt proud to be on that list. Walking to her desk, Maya saw Jason waiting. He smiled warmly and handed her an envelope. "This came for you," he said. Inside was a welcome letter from HR introducing her to the Fellows program. It outlined a series of workshops, networking events, and project rotations. She thanked Jason and promised to review it carefully. He clapped his hand on her shoulder and said, "You earned this, Maya. Well done." As the morning unfolded, Maya settled into a small meeting room for her first Fellows workshop. Around the tables sat other selected intern students in marketing, finance, and data science. A senior partner introduced the program's goals to build leadership skills, cross-functional knowledge, and professional confidence. Maya listened intently as the partner spoke, taking notes. She felt honored to be part of this group and eager to learn from the experienced presenters. After the session, Maya returned to her desk to catch up on her regular internship tasks. She had promised Jason she would help with a new client's budget forecast due the next day. As she opened her spreadsheet, she thought about how she would structure her time. She knew balancing these new responsibilities with her classes would be a challenge, but she also believed it was a chance to grow. She sipped her coffee and began working. Over the next few days, word of Maya's promotion spread throughout the office. Colleagues congratulated her in the hallways, and a few stopped by her desk to offer tips on the Fellows project. Nina, the assistant who had been sick, returned and gave Maya a thumbs up. "Looks like you really helped Jason out," she said. Maya smiled and thanked her. She felt grateful for the support and kindness around her. Balancing school and work was not easy. Some evenings, Maya studied finance textbooks late into the night. Other mornings, she reviewed project materials before heading into class. Learned to manage her calendar, carefully blocking study sessions, setting reminders for work deadlines, and even scheduling short breaks for fresh air. Each small success built her confidence. One afternoon, Jason invited Maya to sit in on a meeting with a new client in the healthcare industry. She joined him in a glass-walled conference room, where executives from a regional hospital system were discussing patient care data. Maya listened as Jason explained how the firm could help improve patient satisfaction scores through data analysis. When the client asked a technical question about data sources, Maya offered a concise answer about cleaning and verifying hospital records. The client nodded appreciatively, and Jason gave her an encouraging look. That evening, Maya walked home, under a sky tinted orange by the setting sun. She thought about the day's experience, smiling at the memory of offering that answer in the meeting. She realized that every chance to speak up was also a chance to learn something new. I felt proud of herself for taking those chances. Later, that week, Maya attended a fellows networking lunch in a nearby cafe. Senior partners, managers, and other fellows gathered around tables filled with salads and sandwiches. Maya introduced herself to a director in the strategy department who asked about her career goals. She shared her dream of working in consulting, full-time after graduation. He nodded and offered to review her resume and give feedback on her interview skills. Maya thanked him and felt encouraged by his willingness to help. In the days that followed, Maya's routine settled into a rhythm. Mornings started with classes, afternoons were full of project work, and evenings often involved studying or workshops. Sometimes she missed social events with friends, but she knew this internship was building her future. She reminded herself that most opportunities required sacrifice, and she was ready to make them. One afternoon, Maya received an unexpected email from Robert Sterling. He invited her to a small breakfast roundtable with him and 2 other senior leaders the following Friday. Her heart leaped at the invitation. A breakfast meeting with the CEO? She felt honored and nervous. She spent the rest of the week preparing by reviewing company news, thinking of thoughtful questions, and choosing her outfit carefully. On Friday morning, Maya arrived early at a private dining room on the top floor. The table was set with fruit platters, coffee, and fresh pastries. As she entered, Sterling stood to greet her warmly. "Good morning, Maya," he said. "Thank you for joining us." 2 other senior leaders smiled and nodded. They chatted briefly about the weather before Sterling began the roundtable. He asked Maya about her experiences so far, what she enjoyed, what challenges she faced, and how the program could improve. Maya spoke honestly and respectfully. She said she loved learning about different industries, but sometimes struggled to find enough time to complete her assignments and her schoolwork. Sterling listened thoughtfully and nodded. He suggested pairing her with a fellow intern for study sessions and offered to grant her a slightly lighter project load during exam periods. Maya thanked him, feeling supported. The other leaders asked her about her long-term goals. She said she hoped to build a career in consulting, using data to solve real problems for clients. They offered advice on skill development, mentioning courses she could take and certification programs that would strengthen her resume. Maya took careful notes, grateful for their guidance. After the meeting, Sterling stood and extended his hand. "You're doing great work, Maya," he said. "Keep it up, and you'll go far." She shook his hand and thanked him sincerely. As she left the room, she felt a mix of pride and determination. She knew she still had much to learn, but she also knew she had support in her final week of the internship. Maya worked on a capstone project for the Fellows program. She collaborated with 2 other interns on a mock client proposal for a nonprofit organization. They held brainstorming sessions, divided tasks, and met with mentors for feedback. Maya focused on the data analysis section, pulling statistics on fundraising trends and donor demographics. She created charts and wrote clear explanations, just as she had done before. When they presented the proposal to Sterling and the other leaders, styling it like a real client pitch, Sinclair thanked them for their creativity and highlighted Maya's data section as especially clear. On the last day of the internship, the fellows gathered for a closing ceremony. Each intern received a certificate and a small gift bag. Sterling gave a speech about the importance of nurturing young talent and encouraged the interns to stay in touch. Maya felt a warmth in her chest as she clapped along with the others. When the ceremony ended, Jason found her and hugged her. "I'm so proud of you," he said. "You did amazing things here." Maya smiled through happy tears and said, "Thank you for believing in me." That evening, as Maya walked away from the building for the final time, she felt a sense of accomplishment she had never known. She thought of her journey, the nerves of her first day, the long night staying late to help Jason, the CEO noticing her work, the special program that launched her growth, and the friendships she had made. Along the way, she realized that every step had taught her something valuable, not just about consulting, but about perseverance, learning, and the power of showing up. Maya arrived home, set her bag down, and sat by her window looking out at the city lights. She thought about her next steps. finishing her final semester of college and preparing to apply for full-time positions. She felt confident that she had the skills, the experience, and the support to succeed. She closed her eyes and smiled, knowing that her late-night efforts had led to unexpected rewards and that hard work truly did catch the eye of those who mattered most. Her story was not over. It was just beginning, filled with promise for the future.